Welcome to another exciting episode of JXT Spotlight. Today, I have a very special guest. He's with a background of banking, a veteran banker, now holding a very responsible position within the Janashakthi Group in one of the subsidiaries. And it's a timely topic that this organization, which was part of the Janashakthi Group for over a decade, now been rebranded as Janashakthi Finance. Yes, today I have with me the Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Sithambaram Sri Ganendran with me. Welcome, Gane, to the JXT Spotlight.
Thank you, Gamika. Good morning to you.
Good morning. So, Gane, to start our conversation, I think it's a timely topic that we are talking about. Janashakthi Finance, formerly known as Orient Finance, was rebranded just about 2 months ago. I would like to know the thinking behind it and the whole story about, why did you rebrand, what's the thinking, and what do you expect to do?
So, Gamika, in terms of the rebranding itself, it's not just a mere cosmetic name change. It's about the transformation for the company to showcase what we can do, what we are capable of doing, and what we are. So, in line with the parent company, Janashakthi, we want to portray and demonstrate to the industry what we can do and what we will be able to do. So, in line with the Janashakthi Group's values, we wanted to rebrand ourselves because Orient Finance is a company which has been in existence for more than 4 decades. Coincidentally, next week we'll be celebrating 44 years.
44 years, yeah.
So, we thought this is the time. So, we did our internal surveys, external surveys, and what came out dominantly was that we'll be better aligned with the Janashakthi brand rather than continuing with the existing Orient brand. So we aligned ourselves with this, and we of course worked a lot in the background, and we brought it out, and we decided to go ahead with the name Janashakthi. So what is it in this rebranding is all about? So we are guided by 3 key pillars in this. It's about the trust, the identity, and the relevance for this.
Very good, yeah.
So we decided we wanted the employees and our customers to be driven by the 3 pillars which we are talking about. So if you see in Sri Lanka, we would always believe to say, let the neighbors do the talking about us.
Sure.
So we want to rebrand ourselves where people talk about, the branding should be what they talk about us when we are not there in the room.
Right.
So that's the whole composition of this planning process.
Fantastic. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions as pretending I'm a stranger because I'm privy to the information. Now, Janashakthi name is so close to insurance. Do you think there's a brand identity confusion in the market by bringing in Janashakthi name for the finance company?
It's actually, I would say it's on the flip side.
Right.
Because it will actually collaborate and work very well for us. That's our aspiration as well. Because though the Janashakthi brand name has been very, very closely and it identifies with insurance, it's up to us how we leverage on it. Because we want to be seen as a financial conglomerate. So insurance is one part. We want to collaborate and work with it in coexistence.
Right.
So how the Janashakthi Finance can benefit out of it is what we carve out the plan very clearly. And though it looks very similar, I'm sure you have been very part of it, we have made some subtle differences to identify ourselves and keep the unique identity of the finance company.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure we can really carve it out in a positive way where there won't be confusion, but there'll be only leveraging to the benefit of it.
Gani, the other question is, 14 years Orient Finance was part of Janashakthi Group. It's not just happened overnight. So it's been over a decade. Why did it wait for 14 years to happen? I mean, why couldn't the rebranding happen, sometime back?
So as they say, there should be always the right time and the right place to do it.
Absolutely.
So we thought, as I said, we did a lot of surveys, and we also, the parent group had to have the confidence in us.
Yeah.
So the parent group and our board together thought this is the right time. And I said the right place with a meaning for it.
Yeah.
Because coincidentally, we moved our corporate office to a strategic location now. And where we are coexisting with Janashakthi Insurance.
Yeah.
So it made sense to rebrand ourselves with this major move so that not just physically we move ourselves with the brand also under the same umbrella of Janashakthi.
Perfect timing. The other question is for the benefit of our followers and your customers. What can customers expect from Janashakthi Finance?
So as I said, we want to be seen and deliver as an entity by giving customer the confidence, the customer's reliability, and the trust. So we don't want to just barge ourselves and deliver to something which we want to give, rather deliver what the customers expect us to give.
Okay.
So that's what our whole principles have been, even to our teams. What we are encouraging and emphasizing is to identify the needs of the customers and deliver accordingly.
Absolutely.
So the advantage is that with the brand value of Janashakthi, we'll be seen and we will be able to deliver as a stronger brand and attract better customer segments, and also attract better depositors to us, where we'll be able to reap the benefit and give the benefit equally to the customers as well.
I think it's you wonderfully articulated it. Janashakthi has always been a customer-centric organization throughout the history. I think it will further strengthen that proposition, and also the Janashakthi Group being being a emerging financial conglomerate, this will further establish their positioning, being into capital markets, insurance, and the NBFI sector. Now I'm moving into the most interesting area, which I think our followers will be more interested to know about: personal credit.
Okay.
I think this is I felt it's a topic that we have not spoken enough. I do have a banking background, but not as much as you, because you were in the whole operations part of it. So this credit part very much. So I'm speaking more from a consumer personal credit point of view. To start with, Gane, I think there are segments in the market that who believes, look, I can't take a loan. I'm not credit worthy. It cuts across different segments. It's not on the top end of the market, middle tier, lower tier, all that stuff. So as an experienced banker, bringing your banking knowledge also to the NBFI sector, how can somebody be eligible for, how do you know whether you're credit worthy? What do you need to do as a consumer?
So the simple rule of thumb is you need to know what you want to do. So if you say that I want to borrow something, you should have a proper need for it rather than a want for it.
Okay.
So if that rule of thumb is there, you identify what you want and what you need, and you go for the need first. And the general rule, which I believe personally, is your debt burden should not be more than 35% of your disposable income.
Right. Very important.
So, yeah. So if you can work around that, and also what you can see is you prioritize and see where you want to do, because the general saying is that you retain what you need as an saving for emergencies, and then you spend on the other things. So you gauge for yourself what you want to do, what you need to do, and borrow for the need only. And of course now what the life has been made a bit more easier in the environment is the crib bureau in Sri Lanka. Because with the crib score, the crib scoring methodology, even the customers themselves can get their own crib and identify where they stand in terms of credit worthiness.
Right, okay.
Which is a very good tool. So that helps for the customer as well as the lending institution. So if you can balance that out, and also in terms of loans, I would say you should never borrow to settle another loan, unless otherwise it's coming as a restructure.
Okay.
And also don't borrow impulsively, because just because you see something, you just don't go and borrow. It's like you shouldn't be changing your phone every year just because there's a model out there every year.
Right.
It's like you get ready for a party with a wedding suit for which you're not even invited for.
Okay.
So you need to identify where your needs and balances are, and then go ahead with your structuring on the financial. And also always remember to keep a track of what you have borrowed, that you can keep a track and you have a simple discipline for yourself. And you know when the due dates are, don't miss this.
Okay.
Because keep a proper reminder, don't dismiss the reminders, because late fees are like leeches.
Yeah.
It will just suck it out before you know.
Keeps adding on.
So the spiral effect is going to be very hard for you to manage. So you have been given a facility or a borrowing you take with a capacity which you can pay every month. But if it get compounded, it's going to be a burden for you. So that's why the terminology itself, that typically bankers call, is debt burden ratio. So you keep the burden ratio to a manageable level so that it doesn't become a burden actually.
Okay. So very interesting. You said don't exceed 35% of your disposable income, and also focus on your need, not the want. So that you don't borrow for consumption or just for impulse things, but necessities that you need to grow in terms of your opportunities. I mean, it can be the vehicle, the house, real needs that you need to. Another thing I saw in Sri Lanka, I don't have the statistics with me right now, there's a lot of underbanked segments that you don't get any scoring. Do you like to shed some light into that?
Yeah, so technically putting that in a term, we call that underserved markets.
Underserved
Right?
markets.
So the NBFI sector is all about that. Even Central Bank of Sri Lanka is driving financial inclusion now.
Yeah.
So be it, let's say, Mullaitivu or Munaragala, that's what Janashakthi Finance is all about. We want to reach out to the unreachable places. And so now it's like I would say nobody is unreachable because there's always a methodology, especially with the digital world and digitization. So anybody can actually come to us. So that's what the ethos we want to work with, to be reachable to the small, minor, medium, large, and
Extra
large
large as well.
corporates
Yeah,
as
large
well.
corporates.
So that we don't want to be what can I say, institutionalized for just one sector.
Okay.
But we want to be reachable for everybody in the market.
Okay.
So as a NBFI, we have that advantage because there is, as you say, there is a segment which is called the unbankable segment. But for NBFIs, you don't have that restriction.
Right.
Because we can reach out easily to anyone, be it a micro, be it an individual, be it a three-wheel driver, be it a school leaver who wants to just get his first motorbike. We
Okay.
can cater to anyone.
Okay.
So that's the advantage.
So you have solutions and
Exactly.
tools for, okay. Gane, having said that, I think one of the dilemmas in the financial sector, especially with regard to the banks, is the collateral, the security for you to borrow. And I'm putting my hat as a consumer. All consumers may not have a monthly income to show a steady income. Some may not even have collateral. I mean, there are brilliant ideas for businesses, but you may not have a collateral to give. I think Sri Lanka, by and large, have this problem. So, what are your views as a professional on this?
So, to be first taking the defense on why institutions look for collateral, because the institutions work with other people's money. So it's a responsibility.
Depositors,
Yeah, it's a responsibility towards the depositors.
Yeah.
So that's why they look for collaterals. But having said that, we also look something called the credit repayment capacity of the customer. So the primary sense in the lending part is you look at the repayment capacity of the customer. Secondary is the security or the collateral.
Okay.
So if the person who is coming to borrow and the institution can come to an understanding that this person has the repayment capacity, then you can work around the collateral. Of course, there are structured products which require collaterals, and there are structured products which we can work without collaterals.
Okay.
So it depends on the risk appetite of the institution. But to reach out to the customers who don't have the proper collaterals, is we need to structure and educate them on how they can start building a credit repayment capacity to portray to the institute.
That's important.
So that's the important thing about that. So even if they don't have the collateral, if they have a proper turnover in their bank statement, I mean, I'm not talking in millions, just even thousands. Your simple discipline, you should demonstrate to the institute that, okay, I'm receiving this much every month, and this is what I dispose, and this is what I retain for myself. If that can be averaged out and demonstrated, I'm sure any institute is willing to take that risk to lend. Because why we call it risk-based lending is because of this. Because we have a responsibility of the depositor's funds, and we can't just dispose of it.
Absolutely.
So we disburse it with responsibility. And of course, the borrower also has an equal responsibility. So if there is a need of a customer who is not able to demonstrate, we can sit, talk to them, understand how and what they can bring forward to the table, and structure it accordingly.
Okay. I'm just going to put a curveball to you because you said about the collateral as also the risk. I think, it also varies on the risk appetite of the organization or the industry also. Do you think by and large NBFI sector has the ability, knowledge and know-how to evaluate rather than just being skewed on the collateral side? We have the ability to really assess a customer's creditworthiness and repayment ability.
So if I answer it with an example, I mean, post-COVID, there was a lady who was in Batticlo who ran a beauty salon. Of course, with the COVID, that was one of the industries which got very badly impacted. But when we identified that this is the reason she's going through, there are ways and means of doing it.
Okay.
So we understood what she can do, what she can't do. We gave her a grace period, like a moratorium. And then now she's doubled her revenue.
Fantastic.
So in Kurunagara, there was a three-wheel driver who was actually struggling to repay. So we got him down. We understood what he can do. We gave him the knowledge on how to manage his financials. Now he has got his own mini fleet of three wheels, and he is running that, and he is giving employment opportunities to other three wheel drivers. So it's all about understanding what the customers can do, and what we need to make them also believe that they can do it.
Absolutely.
So going back to your question, the NBFI sector definitely has that capability, capacity, and the knowledge to do it. It's just that the individuals who go out there need to understand that, have the patience, and the customers also need to have the patience to give the space. So it needs to be a win-win solution with both parties.
A fantastic answer, Gani. I think that gave a lot of clarity. I personally feel that the sector and maybe Janashakthi Finance can take the leadership of educating such stories in the market, because what we usually hear is that somebody has seized the property, they're trapped in the loan, but a lot of people don't talk about the success stories which are coming out. True. Based on this whole understanding. Now I'm talking a little bit on the risk appetite side of it. Does the risk appetite vary from company to company or industry to industry, or are there any boundaries, guidelines given by central bank to mitigate any pitfalls?
So as an industry, central bank definitely has given guidelines, and there are things like technically something called a capital adequacy ratio, the stress testing, all that to safeguard. It's all about central bank's guidelines is about safeguarding the industry against a pitfall, in other words, safeguarding depositors' funds and the investors' funds. But having said all that, individually, each company has a board which has a risk appetite, which defines a risk appetite statement. So each company will have its own uniqueness in catering to that risk appetite. Otherwise, it will be a prototype delivery everywhere. It will be monotonous. But that's not what you see. You see some companies come up with very innovative solutions, like what we do.
That also drives the competitiveness, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's about, another key factor which I would like to share from Janashakthi Finance point of view. 2 years ago, we embarked on this journey on alternate financing business channel.
Right.
We are thriving on it, and we are setting up a benchmark, and we are setting up industry norms in this. We have come up with innovative products. So it's about how your company, your board, and your management together articulates the risk appetite and deliver accordingly. And of course, each company's risk appetite is going to be different, but within the framework of the regulator, because it's a regulated industry. So we can't talk about the unregulated industry, but the regulated industry definitely has a framework, but that framework has enough space for each player to come up with his own identity. Also, something which I want to highlight to you is about when you lend to a person, you need to have empathetic lending.
Yeah.
It's not just about lending for the sake of lending. As I said, you need to understand what the customer wants, and you lend it to a level where the customer won't have a uncomfortable position to repay.
Yeah.
So it's not just about collecting with any force.
Yeah.
It's about getting them to repay in their own willingness and in their capacity. So if you can identify that and lend to the maximum of that capacity, then you will be in a win-win position. So the drawback is that customers sometimes don't understand what their capacity is. They want to do something bigger, which is sometimes beyond their control. So that's where you need to see. Gone are the days where you did dealings with just coffee and a handshake and moved out. Now you need to go to the customer. You need to sit with them. You need to understand. You need to understand their living environment, their responsibilities, their obligations, and then come up with a structure which is unique to that person, and say, this is what you should be doing. That financial literacy we need to give to the customer and bring up that. So then, you can serve to any customer.
Absolutely. I must also, I think, congratulate the entire Janashakthi Finance team, the alternate business finance unit. I must mention, they have won many accolades and they are continuing to do good work. Hats off to the entire team, Gane.
I should just add there, Gamika, it's just that this whole concept has been a brainchild of our CEO, Mr. Jabir, where he brought this whole concept, and the leadership team who is involved in the alternate finance business unit for the last 24 months have done wonders. So it's very infantry stages, but we are competing with the big players and challenging them as well. Excellent. And there is much more in store for us in that market.
I'm looking forward to that. Gane, I think, you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation also why somebody should borrow and, the limits, etc. But I want to re-emphasize and dive a little deeper into this. What are the common pitfalls that, a customer will get stuck in a debt situation?
So, first of all, is that if they venture into something which is the unknown, so sometimes people don't read the fine print.
Okay.
So it's actually sometimes it's the fact that the fine print in a financial documentation is smaller than what is in a food packet. But you need to make that effort. It's you. You need to understand and be ready with what you're getting into. You can ask enough and more questions from the institute which you're borrowing and make sure you have a clear understanding before you go into it. Some of the common causes which we have seen in Sri Lanka is what happens during the tenure of the loan. Let's say a job loss or a income fluctuation. A classic example is what all of us would have faced in the last 3 years, where suddenly it's a statutory external factor where the tax ratios were,
Change,
it went up about so many folds overnight.
Yeah.
So you need to be having enough capacity to sustain such shocks. So that is one classic example which we faced. Or a medical emergency. If you have medical emergency which are not covered by insurance, that's another pitfall which is unforeseen. So you need to plan for it.
Yeah.
So the good habits, I mean, come to Janashakthi Insurance, get an insurance as well. So you're covered with your medical insurance. Then your poor budgeting habits. So budgeting is not just for the corporate or for the country. As an individual too, you need to have that simple habit. Even write in a notebook.
Yeah.
You don't need sophisticated software.
Your income expenditure.
What you plan for this month, what you plan for next month, or what you want to plan for the year. If you have a event in a family, if you have birthdays, it's not a surprise. You know when your family member's birthday is coming. If you want to celebrate, you celebrate, but you plan for it. So, and also, as I said, the lack of financial literacy. So you need to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
And then the cultural science discussing, the cultural stigma which we have discussing our financial problems. So if you think you need to discuss it, be open about it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't wait till it becomes a problem and then start discussing. It's like typically our people go to a dentist only when the tooth is falling.
Yeah.
They don't take preventive measures. So that's the whole issue, because if you think financial discipline has to be discussed, and if you're not, all of us can't be experts in everything.
Yeah.
So you need to go and talk to people. You shouldn't have a stigma about it. You can say, this is what I want to do. This is what I think I will have a problem. Please help me with it.
Okay.
Then I'm sure you will get help. So you come to the company, you go to a bank or a financial institution, talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the employee is there. Come to Janashakthi Finance. We are ready to help. So that's the simple thing. So you understand what you get into it.
Yeah.
Then you won't have these pitfalls, or at least even if you have a pitfall, you will be ready to manage
that. Very interesting. I think I must make the opportunity to inform our followers also. I mean, do not wait till that you're really stuck. You need to plan for it, and there's always a door open at your financial institution. Go and talk to them. With that, will lead into the area that many has negative perception on them.
Let me just interrupt you and give another small analogy. Again, going to dental. But financial budgeting is like using a floss.
Right.
Everybody claims they actually use it, but only you know if you use it or not. So if you use it effectively, you will be having better hygiene. So similarly, if you do financial budgeting, you will have a better financial hygiene.
Couldn't have said it better than that, Gani. So I think, the area that I would want your input is, it's a common and a darker perception about the NBFI sector. So all people here is like, my vehicle was seized and they are after me to collect it, and obviously that's you articulate it right, because you're dealing with the depositors' money from the NBFI sector. So if somebody gets stuck or they decided to come to the organization, which you clearly told, what are the choices that you will give, or what are the solutions in a very broad way? I'm not expecting any detailed answers, but broader solutions. What you
So there are common things which we do. Like we try to do is do a loan restructuring or a rescheduling, understanding, okay, if you can't do it now, when can you do the payment? How will you do the payment? So we can restructure it, or a debt consolidation. Then, as I said earlier, temporary moratoriums, give a grace period, understand the customer. Okay, if you can't repay everything, okay, you at least pay only the interest for these few months. Then you pay this, or you have a balloon payment coming at a later time. Likewise, you do a restructuring. And then the main thing is have a one-on-one conversation and advice. Financial services all about is conversation. It's no more just lending. It's a conversation-based lending. So you can't have one product which will suit all. So each customer has their own unique challenges, their unique advantages. So it's about how do you try to get that best fix, so that you don't put a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
So if we can do these, I'm sure we can help the customers, and the customers will also benefit.
Yeah.
So it's all about a conversation and a win-win solution. If the customers can be very transparent, don't be only truthful to doctors and lawyers,
Yeah,
but also
but
to
to the financial
financial
institutions.
advisors.
Very
So
good, yeah.
then you can have a better solution.
There you go. I think, this conversation or this topic has not come out enough. I think, it's for the betterment of the industry.
Exactly.
Overall, I think we need to take that message across. So I promise that I'm going to bring this question at the latter part. Financial literacy. In Sri Lanka, as per my statistics, I think we are about 59% or 57 or 59% on financial literacy. And it's clearly defined on the internet by central bank as well. Why do you think that financial literacy is so low? We are a country which has a literacy rate over 90%. And as a industry leader, what do you think that the industry can do to enhance this? Because I think it's going to definitely benefit the industry overall.
So it's the first fundamental flaw is our curriculum. Because till you finish your basic education, nobody talks about financial literacy. In our basic curriculum, we talk about Pythagoras theorem, we talk about all other theorems, which sometimes is not practically needed for your life.
For day-to-day life.
Yeah, but do we talk about financial budgeting? What would you do? Do we actually talk to our own children about if you get your first salary, what would you do?
Yeah.
How much would you save? Those saving habits, I mean, we as the industry in the financial industry, banks talk about, financial institute talks about minor savings, savings habits. I remember, I don't want to name the company. I remember even as a child, sateng, rupialing, ithuru karala. That's what we have been always taught about.
Yeah.
Right? So that's about bringing it out to inculcate good habits.
Yeah.
So you can have about common workshops. The industry together can do it, or even go to schools. I think lots of financial institutes are doing it, tying up with schools with the scholarship students. You need to start teaching the kids at a very young age what financial discipline is. You need to inculcate that habit. You just can't spend anything which comes to you.
Yeah.
You need to retain for a rainy day and spend. So that needs to come from a very starting point. I think this is a good time where the government is talking about educational reforms. I think as an institute, as a industry, this may be a good time for us to lobby for this as well, to include this in our curriculum. Because I know Western countries do it, and they do it very well. So we don't need to be far behind.
Sorry to interrupt, if I'm not mistaken, some of the international schools, in their curriculum, there are lessons about learning about money and, the expenditure, etc. So it's a good time, yeah.
So you can see nowadays kids are very tech savvy.
Absolutely.
See, it's very simple. You create some digital tools, you create some digital environments to inculcate this habit. Even develop a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So say that
Simulate,
if you simulate it, and then I'm sure you'll be able to thrive on it. You'll be able to get the message across to them. Then if you get the basics right at a very young age, that will be there forever.
Absolutely.
So it's about where and when we need to really tap into it. It's a bit late in the lifetime when we go and teach about financial inclusion, financial literacy, and tell them simple habits that you need to save before you spend. All that comes at a very late stage. I mean, personally, even we learned it sometimes the hard way at a very late stage.
Yeah.
So for the next generation, at least we can be better examples by doing this. So I think every opportunity we get to talk to youngsters, we should impart this.
Absolutely. My final question, Gane, to conclude our discussion. Future of NBFI sector. As a leader of a pioneering organization, how do you see the NBFI sector rolling out in the future?
So I would say digitization is one way. The second, as the regulator is also encouraging, is consolidation. Because I think we have larger number of players, so we may be better.
We have about 30 or 26 or 30,
we have more than 30.
More than 30, yeah.
So if you can get the numbers smaller but have larger, stronger players, it's very healthy for the industry as well. So I think that would be definitely the way forward. And also, as I said, it's not about just lending to the Wild West. You need to be fast, but you need to be controlled as well.
Yeah.
So you need to deliver at a WhatsApp speed, probably with complying to central bank regulations.
Sure.
So even if you're traveling on the Southern Expressway, you need to have your control. So you need to be fast because now the industry or
agile,
the digital age wants you to be fast, but you need to have your checks and balances. So it's about balanced lending, balanced borrowing also should be there. So the industry's way forward is definitely going to be digitization and consolidation, so that larger players will be able to give better solutions, and even in the sense like so that there is healthy competition
Yeah.
and healthy sustainable institutes, so that you won't have mushroom institute just coming and then creating problems in the
Absolutely.
industry.
One additional question, that triggered me just now. I think the sector also, it goes without saying that the stability and credibility is very, very important. Sri Lanka have had previous experience where people have bad experience about certain institutions I don't want to name. What are the checks and balances? I know central bank is very robust in terms of their policy framework. What do you think as an expert in the industry on this area?
So central bank is doing a very responsible role. It's a right time. The industry will become more and more regulated, but it's the need of the hour.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't have a regulated industry, you won't be able to sustain it.
Absolutely.
So sustainability is the biggest question. So the sustainability will come with the regulators.
Okay.
So coming to back to one other point, because if we can impart the knowledge, increase the financial literacy, the industry will be in a much more healthy state. So as a financial institute, the investment in the financial knowledge will be the best interest for us as well.
Yeah.
That will pay better interest.
Absolutely.
More than the quantifiable financial interest, the knowledge which the customers will have will bring out the challenges to us. They'll be able to challenge us and get us also to the next level.
You have driven the conversation to a very interesting point also. I don't feel like concluding it, but recent developments, Gane, with the change in economic indicators and the environment also, there are a lot of scams happening through digital mechanisms, SMS, WhatsApp. Different mushroom companies are coming and giving you loans. What is your advice to the consumer? Because we know, we've been in the industry, we know what are the things to be checked in a credibility of an organization, whom to borrow, what to borrow, etc. What is your advice to the common public?
So the first thing is, don't be greedy.
Yeah.
Because your greed is your vulnerability. Because the scammers know that you have a greed. So if you can control that, if you see an advertisement, check on it. I think ironically and coincidentally, this week is the Pyramid Prevention Week by Central Bank.
Oh, yeah.
They have launched campaigns about what pyramid schemes are, how you should avert from it, how you should be aware of it, and how you should stay away from it. So the pyramid scheme thrives on customers' greed for undue advantage or quick money. So that's the vulnerability which our people have. So talking about financial scams, that's the principle which these guys work upon.
Yeah.
So if you can be on top of it and be conscious, and if you see an advertisement or if you see something which is very, very attractive, check on the authenticity. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. It can't be true.
Yeah.
So you check on the authenticity, take the effort to check who the person is, or make a call and double check. So the cyber crime is abundance.
Yeah.
So there are so many people who are falling victim to it. So be aware, be careful, be responsible.
Absolutely. Gani, this leads to the end of our conversation. Thank you very much for being here. I take this opportunity to wish you and the entire Janashakthi Finance team, who just started a new journey, turned a new chapter, for greater success. I know that there is exciting stuff lined up, and we are looking forward to having them and serving the community of Sri Lanka and being a very, very strong pillar of the Janashakthi group as an emerging financial conglomerate. I'm sure Janashakthi Finance team will carry that flag. So all the very best, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Gamika, for this time and opportunity, and I'm very hopeful and very optimistic that Janashakthi Finance will become a force to reckon.
Absolutely. All the best with that. And folks, that's a conclusion of our discussion. I think a very interesting conversation, very educative one, informative one. I'm just going to key highlights that I learned from today's discussion. Do not just borrow for your needs. Understand, do not borrow for your wants, but understand your need. And also keep a tab in terms of your income and expenditure. Have a budget done for yourself, and also do not exceed 35% of your disposable income for a loan installment. Also, I think importantly, Gane also mentioned that there are options before you get into trouble. please talk to your financial institution, have that conversational understanding, and see how best you can manage the situation. So it's all not, everything is not dark. There's always solutions. So I think as an industry, NBFI sector in Sri Lanka has a big role to play, and they are going to change the landscape of this industry and educate the customers to be better and the move economy forward as well. So thank you very much for joining JXT Spotlight. Until we see you again, I'm signing off, Gamika De Silva.